Good evening, one and all. I am R. Manjeera Venkatesh, former Special Government Pleader to City Civil Courts, Hyderabad District, Telangana, and Secretary to AMS Durgabai Deshmukh Law College for Women, and Telangana Coordinator to EMW Magazine on behalf of E-Mediation Writings team. Warm welcome to our EMW Gen X classroom series based on the curriculum as proposed by our apex regulatory body BCI. Making mediation and conciliation as a mandatory subject for LLB students. Our EMW Gen X class has successfully completed first classroom series on mediation training program. Now in second classroom series, we are in class 5. Our today's topic is negotiation in mediation. Recently, our Honorable CJ was delivering his key address at Indo-Singapore Summit, referring Indian epic Mahabharata, which envisages an early attempt at mediation as a conflict resolution tool, where Lord Krishna attempted to mediate between the Pandavas and Kauravas, and said it may be worthwhile to recall that the unsuccessful mediation led to disastrous consequences. Recently, Honorable CJI has settled the family dispute by interacting with both the parties in their regional language, that is Telugu, who are living separately since last 20 years. Then they agreed to live together for the rest of their life. Our two passionate mediators and trainers are one Pushpa Gupta and Tankanchan sir, who are key people behind our EMW magazine success, as well as EMW Gen X class with their untiring efforts. Students all over our nation and international had opportunity to join for EMW Gen X classes. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Veena Rali ma'am, senior mediator and master trainer. Before I introduce our today's teacher speaker, Veena Rali ma'am, our student moderator, Sarita Boska, I request Sarita to unmute and introduce herself. Over to you, Sarita.
Thank you, Manjeera ma'am. A warm welcome to all the dignitaries and to all the participants. It is my immense pleasure to be the moderator for today's session. My name is Sarita Boska, currently pursuing my LLB final year TYDC from Andhra Mahila Sabha Law College for Women, located in Hyderabad, Telangana state. First of all, I would like to thank Pushpa Gupta ma'am, Coordinator-in-Chief, EMW, and Thangacham VP sir, Senior Member EMW, for putting a lot of hard work to make this EMW classroom series run successfully during this pandemic. Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir. I would like to thank Manjeera Venkatesh ma'am, Secretary Andhra Mahila Sabha, College of Law for Women, for encouraging the students of the college to participate in EMW classroom series. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to thank whole EMW team for bringing highly skilled dignitaries from all over India to empower the law students from different states and from different countries as well, with the motto of be benefited by the knowledge imparted by the finest mediation trainers. The current session is the second EMW online class series conducted by EMW for Pan-India law students with the motto of learning together when we are apart. As mentioned by Chief Justice of India, N.V. Ramana, justice does not always require black gowns and elaborate arguments. Future belongs to mediation. Wishing the EMW classroom series success in empowering the law students with necessary skills on mediation to bring change in the society. Ground rules for today's session for all the participants. Please put your cell phones or any other devices on mute. Please keep your videos on throughout the session. Please type in questions related to today's topic in the chat box. Over to you, Manjeera ma'am.
Thank you, Sarita. Now coming back to the introduction, our teacher speaker, Veena Rali ma'am. Senior advocate, senior mediator. Madam is well-known name in mediation as an organizing secretary of a Delhi High Court Mediation and Conciliation Center, Samadhan, who is leading the panel of more than 200 mediators. It was established in 2006. Mediation services of the center can be availed by the parties directly or through the referred by the court. The center handles the cases referred by Delhi High Court, its subordinate courts, and Supreme Court of India. The center undertakes the training of mediators by conducting a training programs periodically for the members of the Delhi High Court Bar Association. Ma'am is accredited mediator by Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, London, Singapore International Mediation Institute. She received basic training in India and advanced training in USA. She has also obtained special training of a mediation in commercial matters by Bangalore Mediation Center. She has been appointed as a mediator in several important and large commercial and family disputes by Supreme Court and Delhi High Court. Ma'am has trained several judicial officers, lawyers, and students at various universities. Her skills as a mediator go beyond her qualifications, and her leadership qualities as organizing secretary Samadhan is exemplary and inspiring. Before I hand over to ma'am, proverb: teacher can open the door, but you must enter it yourself. Be attentive physically, mentally, with an active listening to the madam session. Over to you, Veena Ali, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Manjira. The way you have given my little background, it's too small. In the morning, I shared it with Pushp when Thankachan sir asked me, ma'am, this is the one I have got. I said, I have only this much, nothing more. And as you said, be attentive to the students. I still do not call myself a teacher. I'm learning every time. From these EMW classes also, I have learned a lot. Before coming for this session also, I listened to all the recordings of Mr. Shiv Kumar, Sushila ma'am, Jawad sir, because in mediation, I feel from the day one, learning has not began. I still feel whenever we listen to something, we find, oh, this is something new. And it helps me in making use of that experience and knowledge in my day-to-day working as a mediator. So I'm also one amongst them. The only thing is maybe I'm little senior in experience. So I'll share my knowledge based on my experience, because I am there in this mediation process since 2005. So my experience is there, which I need to share. So thank you, even Sarita, and giving me this opportunity, Push. I'm really thankful to you for conceptualizing this program and then making it happening, flawlessly. That's really great. So with this, I will try to make an endeavor to share my knowledge on the subject of the day, and that is negotiation. A question might be bothering all the students. What is negotiation? We all talk all the time. Hum baatchit karte hain, we find out some solution or the other. So that is negotiation. But at the same time, I would like to just impress upon the subject, that is, the subject of today may be negotiation, but basically you are being taught mediation. And as Shiv Kumar sir also in his first class said, that assisted negotiation process inspired by dialogue and communication is mediation. So it is important for us to understand what is mediation and how negotiation works in mediation. Negotiation is a technique. I'll just share my screen and I'll side by side just go with this. I hope it works. So in mediation, we don't just deal with the dispute. We deal with mediation gives an opportunity to deal with the conflict. And that gives us an opportunity not only to look at the causes, but also gives us an opportunity to transform it into resolution. And here also in this definition, you will find that mediation is a voluntary, party-centered, structured negotiation process where a neutral third party assists the parties in amicably resolving their disputes by using specialized communication and negotiation techniques. We have already been taught about communication techniques by Jawad sir. Today we'll be talking about negotiation techniques. So what we need to understand is, what is negotiation? Pankaj, you keep on shifting gradually. Negotiation is the process of back and forth communication for the purpose of reaching a joint agreement about differing needs and ideas. So negotiation is not a simple conversation. It is a strategic discussion that revolves an issue in a way that all the parties find acceptable. In this, all the parties try to avoid arguing, but agree to reach to some sort of conclusion. So it is not only that one person speaks and the other person listens, it can be back and forth, coming, going, and then maybe certain communication is required, as even Jawad sir said so in his session, that for negotiation, you need good communication. And for reaching an agreement, different parties need to talk about their needs. And that is how this negotiation is to be understood. In fact, it is a technique of discussing issues and reaching to a conclusion, benefiting all involved in the discussions. It's not for the benefit of only one person. It is one of the most effective ways to avoid conflicts and tensions between the parties. And we do that every day in our life, not only in one day. We can do that every day in our life. We negotiate in our house which dinner is to be enjoyed today. If we plan to go out, of course, in pandemic, we are not going out, but during pandemic, also what will be cooked is negotiated while standing outside the kitchen with the mother. Okay, you have good food today, some healthy food today. Tomorrow I may create something, I may cook something which is falling into the category of junk food, maybe Maggie, but tomorrow. Today you will have to enjoy this. Similarly, we understand the skills of negotiation are to be used even when you are driving on the road. You are negotiating a roundabout, you are negotiating on the circles, and then you are just also crossing somebody on the wrong side. And how do you negotiate at that point of time? Because you have created a situation where one could basically result into an accident. So every time in your life, you are negotiating. It's not only a one occasion. So what we need to understand is the techniques of negotiation for the purposes of mediation, because we are helping people to negotiate. In mediation, we are basically assisting the parties to have the negotiations. Pankaj sir, just come to the next slide. No, backward.
Back.
I think back.
Yes, yes.
The backward one. Yes, next one. Yes, sir. So why do we negotiate? Next one.
Yes.
We negotiate to achieve a goal. That goal may be anything. As I just said, what is to be cooked today, which movie is to be watched. Maybe we go to some mall where there are multi halls. Maybe I go to one movie, my children go to another hall, because today we are not on a consensus. So we decide to go to a mall where we both can have and watch our own movies. So goal is to go there. So we negotiate to achieve a goal. We negotiate to reach a mutual agreement. That is the goal of the negotiation. And we negotiate because we want party autonomy. Because if we go to the process of adjudication, we want the third person to decide for us. But here the power of the negotiation is, the beauty of the negotiation is, the power is in the hands of the parties to decide. And they become the owner of the outcome of the dispute or the conflict which has brought them to that level where they are sitting across the table and negotiating. And of course, if we do not negotiate, our conflict gets cemented. We further take it forward by going to the courts. by following adjudicatory process, and our relationships get totally sour. To preserve relationship, the best way is to negotiate. As I said, we negotiate at every moment. We must negotiate whenever our conflict has turned into dispute, so as to avoid further deterioration to our relationships. So what is the basic criteria in negotiation? The criteria in negotiation is to have a wise agreement. Now, a question may bother, what is a wise agreement? Wise agreement can be something which is doable, something which is durable, something which is fair for all the parties, something which which takes care of the needs and requirements of all the parties involved in the discussions. It is fair. And once it is agreed between the parties that, okay, they will agree to do one particular thing, we must understand that there is a possibility of doability also. It is not that something which is not possible. I'll just give you an example that suppose two parties are fighting on some property and ultimately A agrees to give B a property which is basically located in an unauthorized area. And he says, I'm ready to give you this property in lieu of what you have filed a claim against me. It may sound very nice, but the moment to look into the issues relating to that property, it is not possible for you to get it registered in your name because that property is lying in is located in unauthorized location. So that is not efficient. So what we must understand that what we are agreeing is doable as well. And of course, that goes without saying, the basic purpose of negotiation is to improve relationship. And if by any chance there is no scope of improving relationship, at least we should try that our negotiations result into such agreement where further damage to the relationship stops. So that is the basic criteria of negotiation. Now let us understand, what are the features of negotiation? Features of negotiation are that there should be minimum 2 parties. There can be multiple parties as well, but at least for negotiation, we need 2 people. Sometimes we negotiate within ourselves. We say that I'm talking to myself, but that is not negotiation, because in this techniques of negotiation, what we are talking here is that we need minimum 2 parties. And both those parties or any parties who are on the negotiation table, they have a predetermined goal to achieve. They have their needs to be looked after. They have their common interest, maybe because suppose there is one item lying in the fridge, which is very commonly used by most of the people, that there is one orange, and there are 2 children at home. Now, what they need one orange, how to do this, how to look after the interest of both the daughters. So that common interest is there, that both of them need orange. Maybe there are variant interests, but they need to negotiate. For example, suppose 100 rupees is given by mother, and mother has gone to the market, leaving both the daughters at home, and saying that whatever you feel you want to eat, you can order. Now, one daughter says that I want to order a burger, and another one says, no, I want pizza. So there are variant interests at that point of time. They need to negotiate because there is the resources are limited. Only 100 rupees is there. And they both cannot have both the things. So in that situation, either their variant interest needs to be negotiated. Okay, today we will have pizza or we will have burger. Tomorrow we may have something else. So that needs to be negotiated. And of course, we must understand that the parties are flexible on their position. If parties are rigid on their positions, that negotiation never succeeds. So for having negotiation, we must understand that people should be flexible on their positions. And of course, they should look for resolution, some consensus, so that they have a good deal on the day on which they are on the table for the purposes of negotiation. So let us understand, what are the elements of negotiation? Negotiation is not, since we talk it as a technique, we must understand that this is not just a casual talk. It is something which is very specifically to be started and to be ended. And for that, we must understand that it is a process in itself. And that process, the way individuals negotiate with each other, is called the process of negotiation. The process includes the various techniques and strategies employed to negotiate and reach to a solution. It begins when issues are known to the parties. And of course, when we are talking about negotiation in mediation, issues are known even to the mediator. Of course, there has to be a substance. Substance can be variant. Based on the issues between the parties, there has to be an agenda. That agenda is a substance. But how this agenda is to be created, we need to go and look into the data provided by the parties or the information provided by the parties to the mediator. Even assisted by the mediator, this data is shared with the opponent of the speaker, the negotiator. So complete information has to be shared. Based on that complete information, issues are to be identified. So like, suppose some warring couple comes for mediation and one person says that I'm looking for divorce. That does not mean that this is the only issue between both of them. You will have to identify what are the issues, why that person has reached up to that stage and he's looking for divorce. And then you create an agenda, we have to work on that. So there has to be a substance. And then, of course, since it is a technique, we cannot ignore our behavior while talking about negotiation. How two parties behave with each other during the process of negotiation is referred to as a behavior. The way they interact with each other, the way they communicate with each other to make their points clear, all come under their behavior. So behavior is very, very important. So with these three common components, now let us understand how negotiation process moves from stage 1 to stage 4. So first is preparation. What is very important for the purposes of negotiation is prepare yourself before sitting on the table for the purposes of negotiation. Because now agenda has been created, you know, issues have been identified, agenda has been created, we have to negotiate on this. If you go unprepared, you will be taken by surprise. If you do not even prepare yourself that what might come from the other side, you will also be shocked to see how the process moves. Sometimes the process is broken then and there only, parties do not want to move. So prepare yourself before going, and when you reach at the negotiation table, share your information. Share your information in a very classical way. Do not share it, do not pour it on the table. Go step by step. Try to understand what is important, what is to be given, because your preparation level will tell you how you have to put your information before the mediator and before your opponent, so that the opponent understands it well. And then comes the stage when the sharing of information has come, then you definitely talk about bargaining. What is to be done? Of course, this bargaining, I will touch here for a minute because I'm told that Bharta sir is going to take in the next class, he's going to teach you more on bargaining. That whenever there is economic effects or economic values are involved, bargaining is taking place. But this bargaining is a part of negotiation because it plays a very important role in the process of negotiation. Wherever there are issues with regard to money, properties, and other things, it plays an important role. And definitely, negotiation includes even other things which have more value, and that is to be negotiated. And of course, based on that information, based on that bargaining of proposals and counter proposals, back and forth communication you reach to a conclusion. And that conclusion also includes the execution of the conclusion. Again, that doability and durability of the agreement of the conclusion has to be tested on all parameters. And then one must look at the execution part, which concludes the disputes between the parties, the conflict, resolves conflict between the parties. And that is how the negotiation process has to be kept in mind. Do not start in a haphazard way and start with one question, what do you want? Generally, when people, we will go in little detail little later. Generally, we have seen when people take their positions, they just enter the room and say, what do you want? I just want this much. And the process breaks then and there only. And we close the matter as a mediator, as a non-starter. So we have to understand that there is something called process and prepare the parties to come prepared on the next session as to what are they looking for. Only then, unless or until we understand the process, we cannot achieve our goal and we cannot have a consensus where both the parties agree to give something, take something, enlarge the pie, get all benefits, go happy. Even at one point of time, somebody has given some concessions, still the situation is win-win because the needs of the parties are taken care of during that process of negotiation. We must understand, while talking about the techniques, the negotiation styles, there are 5 styles. You must have seen some people just avoid even confronting that something is required to be negotiated. They are called avoiders, avoiding. Another is accommodating. I give you everything, I accommodate you. But what is important is some people feel compromising style is there because people, you must have seen the word used, compromise karna padta hai. The happiness, the level of happiness is very less when you compromise, but this is one of the styles. It is very important for all of us to know these styles. Of course, there is one competing style as well. And as you see, when we see the assertiveness and cooperativeness, the levels from both sides, we find collaborating being on the highest possible scale, where assertiveness is also more, but cooperativeness is also more, and they both meet each other and collaborate, and then they can achieve what they really want. We'll go in detail on all these things in the next slide. So let us take avoider first. You know, who is avoider? Avoider is basically, he's not assertive at all. And he's not cooperative even. Non-cooperative, absolutely. He avoids. He sometimes even avoids the existence of the conflict. He denies that there is a conflict. Of course, it is appropriate when the issue is trivial. It's fine. It doesn't matter much. But what if the issue is bigger? Can be a strategy also when, of course, when time is not seen right to attempt settlement, some people avoid negotiations at that point of time. We have seen it quite often in, as in my experience as an organizing secretary, I want to share here that in Commercial Courts Act, it is mandatory to send parties for mediation. But generally mediations are closed as non-starters because defendant wants to see, let him spend some more money and come to the court. Let him engage a lawyer. I will see what is to be done at that point of time. So it can be merely a strategy when time is not seen right to attempt settlement. And he might be waiting, maybe the plaintiff will come to some senses and he will give you more, you can say, concessions at that point of time. It is, I must tell you that avoiding a conflict is not desirable, since conflict generally escalates when we do not deal with it. So it is very important, as Sushila ma'am has already taught you, it is important for us to deal with the conflict. Let us not avoid it. So not a very good style, but of course it is a style. And we as mediators, we must understand what style is being adopted by the negotiator on the table. Another one is accommodator. Again, unassertive, but cooperative. I leave space for the other person. It yields and agrees with whatever the other wants and goes all out to appease. It is appropriate when the issue is not important, but inappropriate again if it is something that matters, since he will end up being resentful and conflict will become more difficult to handle at that point of time. So generally we have seen in family matters, sometimes parents accommodate children just because they want comfort level in the family. But they see the consequences when they get old, and some of the people have gone and filed later on those cases under the Senior Citizenship Act, because that brings discomfort in their life at a later stage. So accommodator, of course, is a style, but not very appropriate looking at the consequences at a later stage. Pankaj. Pankaj, next one, please.
Ma'am, can you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Compromiser. It is a moderate level of assertiveness and cooperation. I compromise with the situation. It splits the difference. You take some, I take some. That is the level of assertiveness and cooperation in this sense. Thinks that something for everyone is the best way out, because sometimes we feel that I get some, you get some, and it's fine for us. It is appropriate when any situation is better than a stalemate. Of course, sometimes you will find that negotiations are failing because there is a stalemate and people are not moving ahead, they are not having a consensus. But to avoid that stalemate, they give up something. But not appropriate when it is difficult to live with the result and a better solution may be possible if you deal with the situation little later. So generally, you must have seen people using this word compromise karna padta hai. But you see the sentence itself, it is not a happy go factor. It gives you somewhere satisfaction level goes little lower than what you really want to achieve, because you just adjust with the given situation and you do not want to end the negotiations as a failure. Pankaj. Competitor. Competitor is very, very assertive. I want this. He enters in the room for negotiation saying, I just want this. And we have seen negotiations failing at that very point of time, not moving ahead at all, because the other person says, question doesn't arise. So the attitude is absolutely non-cooperative. He wants or she wants, whosoever is the negotiator, control over the outcome, over the process, over the outcome, and also want domination. It sometimes displays that I'm ready to go and fight it out. It is appropriate in circumstances where there is an emergency. Suppose for an example, you know, that there is somebody has to pay 20 lakhs to the opponent, but opponent's daughter is to get married very soon. He has no resources and he is looking forward that his money should come back. So a person who is a competitor, even if he is very assertive and non-cooperative, and he says, I am just in a position to give you 8 lakhs, nothing more, nothing less. If you want to take it or break it, the person may yield to that requirement. That need may force him to come under the pressure of the competitor. But it is inappropriate when better decision can be taken by talking and of course, collaborating. So that next style is very, very important for us to know, because that gives us the best results in negotiation, and that is collaborator. It can be an assertive. It may start with an assertiveness of the parties, but you will find discussions very constructive with cooperative approach from all sides of negotiators. It is appropriate when matter is very significant, and of course, relationships matter to the parties. This relationship, I'm not talking about only family relationship, it can be business relationships as well. And sustainable solutions are possible with the constructive talks, conflict can be ended. Because both the parties sit on the table, look as to how the problem can be solved. They use dialogue, they talk to each other. They don't only look at the interest of oneself, they look at the interest of the opponent also. And they discuss to find out a solution. Solution which takes care of the interest of the both sides, or even if there are more sides, everybody takes their pie. The pie is enlarged. So if my cup is full, you also get, and you also get your cup full. I have no issues in that. That is the approach. And you must have seen, particularly in property related issues, where two brothers are fighting, that because there is a will left by father, half goes to one brother and half goes to another brother. Now, if you divide the property into half, nobody gets the maximum output out of that plot of land which their father has left for both of them. Now, they want that this house has only one floor. If we divide it into half, we get only one room, one kitchen, one room, one kitchen for both the brothers. But if we collaborate, we can have a multi-storied building. We can get the cost of construction also from the collaborator, who can be a builder, who joins hands. He builds a house, gives me one floor, gives another floor to my brother, takes out even cost of construction, and there is a terrace for all of us to go on the top floor on the terrace, because now in this multi-storied building, he can provide us even a lift. So that is a collaborative approach, and it is important for us to provide that assistance to the parties to understand their styles, how they begin. They might be beginning as an avoider, as accommodator, competitor, but bring them to the level of collaborator and put them in a situation where they all go happy, because they look after their own interest and the interest of their opponent. Next, please. So now I would like some of you to tell me, what are these styles? I have not used these words there, so you will have to help me. If I say, I win, you lose, which one is this style? I would like the participants to just help me to understand. Can anybody speak?
Ma'am, I think I have muted them. They can put it in the chat.
Okay, fine.
Chat box.
Okay, so
They can
put in the chat box. Okay,
Chat
competitor.
box, yes.
I win, you lose. Yes. Okay, you win, I lose. Yes. But just make one more effort. You win, I lose. Somebody has written compromise. But one more style I just discussed. Accommodating, wonderful. Now, I don't care if I win or lose. Avoiding, yes, yes. You win some, I win some. You win some, I win some. Okay, to some it appears to be collaboration. We used one more style other than collaboration. Both are happy, you win some, I win some. No, not accommodating has already come. You win, I lose. Compromise, wonderful, wonderful. And now I win, you win. That is collaborator. All of us are happy in that. You win, I win. Fully, completely satisfied. Next, please. Let us understand few further principles of negotiation. Hard negotiations and soft negotiations. And there is one thing called principled negotiation also. Hard negotiation occurs when one or both parties use a very rigid and inflexible approach to acquire their respective demands. Whereas soft one occurs when the bargainers gives in to the demands of the other party easily. So hard negotiator is, he takes rigid position, and soft negotiator is, next one please. He gives in very easily. Next please. So hard negotiators are, they look at each other as adversaries. Backward please. Go backward please. Backward. Yes. So next one. Hard negotiators look at each other as adversaries. They always feel that we are opponents. And the goal is to have victory. I want to win. And that matter ends. Whether if I win or I do not win, that is separate. But when I sit on the table for negotiation, I must win. And I want concessions from the other side. I do not want to give any concession. I want only this much. And they are hard on people and on problems, both. They dig out into positions. Then soft ones are always their friends. They find their opponents also friends. Their goal is to agreement. They can give concessions. Soft on people and on problems both, and they change their positions easily. Now, one question I want to ask, just imagine a position when a cricketer is playing, he's a batsman, and a ball comes. Does he look at the bowler as an opponent or as a friend? So even if you're soft, you can achieve what you want. But of course, in the light of hard and soft, there is one more style, and that is called principled negotiation. And that principled negotiation is, these principles have been taught to us. Even Jawadji took name, Thankachandji next. Jawadji also took its name, William Ury. Those principles have been described very nicely in that book. And those principles are that when you are sitting on the table for the purposes of negotiation, separate the people from the problem. Suppose for a minute that an employee is reaching late in the office. The timings are very important, and reaching late is a problem. But the person is not the problem, because earlier that employee must have been coming or might be coming on time all the time. But now if that person is coming late, what is important is to ask that person, why is it happening that now you are getting to say yes. You are absolutely right, Deepti. So that these principles have been taken from there, that when we want to have good results from our negotiations, we should not be very soft negotiator. We should not be very hard negotiators, but we should try to be principled negotiators. And how do we become principled negotiators? By separating people from the party, by people from the problem, Be soft on the people and hard on the problem. Look at the problem only, how to resolve it, and focus on the interest. Don't dig into positions, because what we do when we stand and look at ourselves as a negotiator, and we think we are not going to give concessions, we take positions. Whereas we must understand that we are coming here to have an outcome uh, which can be acceptable to both. So I must look at what is my interest. My interest is to continue in this job. My interest as an employer is to have this employee. But of course, the problem was the timings. So attack on the problem and not on the person. Rightly said, Dipti. And of course, fourth principle is very, very important, and that is insisting on using objective criteria. What is this objective criteria? What do you need to keep in mind? Try credible source to verify. Suppose that there is a one position taken by somebody and another position taken by somebody. Try to find out the reality. Make a reality check. Suppose in a property deal, one person says that this property is 2 crore, worth 2 crore. The other person says, no, it is more than 5 crores. Now, how do you tell the parties to create that objective criteria? You can tell them to verify the rates from the market. They may also be unstable. Then, of course, you can forward them to the sub-registrar's office, or the circle rates can be verified. So what is important is try credible sources to verify and the price and worth of that property. Avoid patronizing at that point of time. Use the criteria provided by the other side and don't work together. And work together. See, when I say that this is the rate of the property as one of the negotiator, what is required is go to a third person, verify it, and try to understand its worth. That is called principal negotiation. Only those negotiations work where people look at the real value of the property, particularly when we are talking about negotiations in regard to with regard to those properties, or where money is involved, or where something is to be verified. Similarly, in matrimonial matters, when Sridhan is being exchanged, people want to go to an evaluator. People want to go to a jeweler for verification of the authenticity of the jewelry. That is very important, and only then those negotiations succeed, because the other person is made open to go to anybody. The person who is proposing for authentication of the jewelry is given that opportunity. You please go and get it verified. And we do that. We make such arrangements where people go to the jeweler and then they get that verified. So, Pankajanji, next please. So there are certain skills which are required for effective negotiation. Jawad spoke about rapport building, that is relating to effective communication, because you can have effective negotiation only if you have effective communication. That's very, very important. And as Jawad spoke also, that only 7% is the spoken language, 38 is tonality, and 55 is physiology. So keep in mind that communication skills are very, very important when you want to use negotiation skills effectively. So first of all, create a rapport with your opponent. And how do you create that? Because you have to just understand what is falling from the other side. Have a harmonious relationship while talking to each other, and create that trust where one can listen to you. What is important is create rapport and then listen to your opponent. And this listening is not merely listening, it is active listening, effective listening. It is not a word which can be replaced with hearing, because there is a lot of difference in hearing and listening. So listen to the person carefully when you are on the negotiation table and ask questions. Why are you asking this? So those questions are open-ended questions in the beginning. Those questions are clarificatory questions when they come to little in the middle of the process of negotiation. And those questions at the end may be even closed-ended questions. Are you accepting this? Can you accept this? Is it acceptable to you? There can be many ways to put it. But questioning is very, very important. And how you put that question is also important. What language are you using? What are the non-verbal cues you are reflecting while sitting on the negotiation table? Is very, very important. You know, what happens sometimes, you must have seen that mere giggling on the proposal of one negotiator ends the process of negotiation immediately. Okay, I'm no more interested in talking to this man. He's just laughing at me. So it's important that what type of non-verbal cues are you reflecting at that point of time when you are sitting on the negotiation table. Similarly, suppose you are just fiddling with something. You are not looking at the speaker. It is important for us to understand that these are effective ways of having effective negotiation. And it is important sometimes, if you really want to understand the other side, summarize what you said. And if you as a negotiator cannot say, it is always better to get this help from the mediator who has to summarize it. Okay, this is what you are saying. That summarizing confirms what is falling from the one side negotiator and what is going to be absorbed by the other side of the person who is sitting as a negotiator. Rephrase it. And then, of course, use empathy also at that point of time. Because if you do not empathize with your opponent as a negotiator, the person is not going to get you what you are looking for. Of course, we must understand that this is not sympathy. This is different. This is empathy. And if all of you understand Hindi, then I can just use one word, that you must do samanubhuti, not sahanubhuti. हमें सहानुभूति नहीं करनी है उसके साथ, हमें समानुभूति. I must put myself into the shoes of that person and understand what is falling from him and why. So use all those effective skills of communication to get good results out of your negotiations. Next, please. Of course, when parties are sitting on the negotiation table, they are just not robots who are just talking. I want this, I want that, and then something is being agreed. Human beings are full of emotions. We need to understand the emotions involved, because even in the process of mediation, you will feel that once we are at the stage of negotiation, still emotions come again and again, and people are not in a position to forget what has happened. So they really want to talk about that emotion again and again. And once they do not come out of that emotion, definitely they cannot focus on their needs and requirement. So what is important is to acknowledge that there is some emotion involved in this. And at that point of time, identify which emotion is this. We cannot just bypass that emotion. We have to deal with it. So identification is very, very important. So a lot of factors influence the process of negotiation. Negotiator emotions being one of the major factors. Negotiator mood decides a lot, many things. If one is in a happy mood, everything seems perfect and good. Individuals with positive attitude can get good results. But if one is angry, even good thing doesn't appeal to me at all because of the force of that anger on that negotiator. A person loses control on his mind and is not in a position to think rational, constructive, and loses control over the outcome of negotiations. So one's anger must be put under control for an effective negotiation. Don't overreact to petty issues. Anger only leads to conflict and misunderstandings and does not get you good results. So don't say anything which might hurt the other person, because in anger, you can speak anything at that point of time and you will not even realize. So what, as a mediator at that point of view, can see that suppose there is some emotion which has emerged, you have to deal with that emotion at that point of time. And you will be taught little later how to deal with emotions. And of course, sometimes we are under a lot of stress. If we are under a lot of stress, again, we cannot think rationally. So whatever is the position at that point of time, if any emotion is overpowering my brain exercise, and I cannot do the brainstorming at that point of time, I should just give up for that moment and take some breathing time, come back cool and composed so that I can get what I want, what I need, because needs are not to be compromised at all by the parties. Wants can still be handled. Now, there are certain tips for effective negotiation. Those tips are, we must have the knowledge of the subject. Suppose for a minute that there is some matter relating to IPR, and I do not know any aspect relating to what is this IPR. I don't know what is this mark, who has got right over this, who has got the registration first. If I am not aware about any such subject knowledge, I must try to get the knowledge as a negotiator. Otherwise, I will fail in the beginning itself. And then we have done these negotiation styles. We must understand these negotiation styles, and we must have the capacity to cope with those different styles. We also, as a negotiator, must know to do the brainstorming, because when people are sitting on the table for the purposes of negotiation, what is important is parties should be asked to do the brainstorming and find out as many as options possible for the parties to be discussed for the purposes of negotiation. Maybe by the rule of elimination, you may eliminate 10 proposals and just have one out of them. But what is important is that you must do the brainstorming. Trade-offs can be done little later. Concessions can be given little later, but defining your bottom line at appropriate stage, you must know. You must understand that this is my ideal outcome. Isse kam mein main nahi karunga. This is the minimum I can expect. But at the same time, at what stage you should define your bottom line, that is also important. And then ability to think clearly and rapidly under pressure and uncertainty, because negotiations, when they start, you do not know what is going to fall from your opponent. So you must prepare yourself with the ability to come under pressures at time, and with that pressure also, because we have experienced as mediators that when negotiations are taking place, parties are at the last minute concluding certain things, and they come under a lot of pressures of time. Maybe sometimes even money related constraints are there, but they yield to those pressures because they can handle those pressures. But no negotiator will do that without evaluating the resources in case of any negotiations relating to money. And if they do under pressure agree to something, those type of negotiations always fail and they are never successful. So as a good negotiator, you must know how to deal with your own pressure. Stay firm on your course and do not change statements quite often. Do not play with words. That is very important. Do not play with your words or try to confuse others. One needs to be straightforward from the very beginning. Avoid shouting or using derogatory language. Shiv Kumar sir told us that we make certain ground rules that one will speak at one point of time. Why is it made a rule? This rule is made to have effective listening at that point of time. Active listening, to give effect to that active listening, because when one is speaking, we try to understand what is being spoken that by person. By interruption, we lose basically the track, we lose the focus. So it is important. So every word used in mediation is very, very important to be understood, and its value is incredible. So we must understand these effective tips for having effective negotiation. So take good care of your posture when you are sitting for negotiations. Don't look around. Do not fiddle with your pen. And of course, I would like to say one thing more. Dressing up is also very, very important. Dress up well. Don't wear anything which is too casual. If you dress casually, people will not take you seriously. Smart dressing does not mean expensive clothes. Instead, it is called dressing appropriately according to the occasion. And if you want to have successful negotiation, you must keep these tips in mind while going for negotiation. We must be aware about one more concept before we conclude the topic for the negotiation, and that is BATNA. It means best alternative to the negotiated agreement. When parties are talking about this back and forth communication is going on to have an agreement, what is the alternative which is best to what is being negotiated is very important for me to be known. Next, Pankaj. What is this BATNA? Suppose in a case of an employer who is negotiating for his salary and his employer is negotiating with him and not very happily talking about providing him another increase. What can be his BATNA? He has to list out possible actions if his boss doesn't agree to yield to his request. In the sense, he must try to find out, is there any other job available for me where I'm getting more than what I am getting from this office? So if you have that option with you in your hand that you can shift from this office to any other office, that is your BATNA, where you are getting either more perks or more emoluments. And then if you sit with your present employer, talking about BATNA in your hand and telling him, giving him that information that I'm getting a job there and there they are offering me this much of amount, maybe your employer will consider if he's happy with your work. So better create your BATNA before even talking for your terms which you are proposing your employer for increase in your emoluments at that point of time. So improve these ideas and convert them into practical alternatives. Don't have a hypothetical situation just for the sake of saying, don't say that I'm getting a job, because there can be verification also by the employer. So suppose you have 2-3 options, select the best one and discuss with your present employer. This is just for an example. I'm just telling you how you can deal with your BATNA. And when you are sitting for negotiation, if you prepare yourself with your BATNA, you get best results. And only then your opponent can give you what you really are expecting as an outcome from the process of negotiation. So you must know what is BATNA, and Shivs are also talked about BATNA, Malatna, and BATNA. I'm rushing through this for the purposes of negotiation. So BATNA tells you when to accept and when to reject an agreement. If your BATNA is better than what you are negotiating on the table, you can always reject the negotiations because your BATNA is better. But of course, you must consider it from all aspects. And if your BATNA is not good or better than what is being proposed by your opponent here on the negotiation table, then reject it. And one more aspect, when you are preparing yourself for the negotiation, you should not even verify about your BATNA. You should also try to evaluate the BATNA of your opponent, because only then you can prepare yourself for the purposes of negotiation. If you do not know what possibly can be the BATNA of your opponent, definitely you will not propose, you will not brainstorm for creating those options, because you will feel that my opponent is not going to come up to that level, and you will be taken by surprise at that point of time. So it is very important to know your own BATNA and know when to accept it and when to reject the proposals of the opponent, and also the BATNA of the opponent. Of course, this Shiv sir has already dealt with, but is the most likely alternative to a negotiated agreement. We must know when we are concluding our negotiations. And similarly, we must know even BATNA. Next one, that worst alternative, that is if we do not achieve what we through the process of negotiation, maybe we have to land up in court, and we will spend more time, money and energy on adjudication by a third neutral judge. And the process is so cumbersome that we will spend a lot of time in getting what we really want. So we generally people use BATNA while they are negotiating. But what I have experienced that we as mediators and as negotiators should use our BATNA for getting good results from negotiations. Next. Now we have known all the styles. So I have just created one slide that rapid action is important in every deal. We say rapid force. So I have just created this to understand that if you want rapid action in your negotiation, you prepare yourself well, create rapport with your opponent, analyze the position from the day one. Do the brainstorming to such an extent that you know what possibly can fall from your opponent and what possible proposal should go from your side. Propose them. Be inclusive, even if a new idea is developed by anybody. Use that. And be inclusive also to the extent that if any other party is to be included, maybe for the purposes of that objective criteria, we have to verify something. Be open to all such ideas and deal with this whole process to get a good deal. You will get the maximum satisfaction by using this rapid model and getting what you are looking for. Bhajanji, next. But of course, though the time is limited, I'll just go very slow, very little I will talk about this because Pushpji told me that I must touch barriers to negotiation also. See, we are always sitting on the negotiation table for the purposes of getting good results, but some barriers you will always find that maybe somebody's presence is creating a problem or something else is there that negotiations are not yielding results. So we have created 4 barriers here mainly, but there are many more. Maybe at the time of bargaining, you will be taught about that. So there can be strategic barriers. Strategy adopted by a party to achieve his goal should be kept in mind while you are on the negotiation table. Like 498A. Somebody has gone and filed a complaint in CAW cell. And the other person approaches the center with an application for mediation, which is basically done in the process of conciliation. You know it is a strategy to delay the process of to delay the process which CAW cell that can take place. So it is just a strategy, and this is a barrier. You have to deal with that. Maybe you have to halt the negotiation process at that point of time. Maybe one of the parties want to go back and see what happens in the police station. Maybe the FIR is registered, then the offers will change. Maybe the FIR is not registered. And sometimes even up to the stage where FIR is registered, if bail is not granted. So these are the strategic barriers we get. Of course, there can be another barrier, which is principal and agent barrier. You know, negotiator can be sometimes in his physical, personal capacity before you. But in cases of organizations and other offices, business organizations, you may not get the real person before on the table. So you can just get an agent instead of the principal who is the decision maker. And it is our duty to get the decision makers on the table. And we have been taught as mediators to request the person who is coming in as agent to get the principal, so that if any requirement is there to take a decision, he's there. The agent doesn't have to go back and ask his principal. But this principal and agent barrier otherwise also has to be kept in mind, because an agent may not have full information with regard to the dispute, because no negotiations can take place without preparation, without having proper information with regard to the issues involved. But maybe the agent is not even aware what happened. Agent may be a recent employee. The agent might not be knowing that the issue is between an old employee and he doesn't even know what had happened, what has transpired between the two. And one experience based information I want to share, that sometimes we find that there is a conflict between the negotiator on the opposite side and between the agent, because if this settlement takes place between the two negotiators, the agent may not be put in a better position, keeping in mind his service, or any other benefit may be withdrawn from him. So there can be a conflict of interest between two of them. So there can be any reason. So what is important is to get the right person on the table for the purposes of discussions. Or sometimes even agent doesn't even get back to the issue properly to the principal. He doesn't carry complete information because he doesn't understand. So we have to deal with that barrier. Then comes cognitive or perceptive barriers. Jawad sir spoke about 6 or 9. I look at 6. The other person finds the same word written as 9. So we have to deal with such type of barriers by moving the person and bringing them to the side of the 6 to understand this is size 6. And why the other person is reading is 9, we may have to take the help of the mediator to shift to the other side of the wall and read it as 9. And if we do not do that, that negotiations can be impeded absolutely. And the last but not the least, because there are many more of this psychological barriers, strong emotions can always impede negotiations, like anger, nervousness, personal grudges. इसको तो मजा चखाना ही चखाना है, only logical end पर कोर्ट तक लेकर जाना है, because nowadays you must have seen that some exaggerated events are mentioned in complaints when we talk about 498A. Generally, people want to take it to the logical end. They say, we have not done anything, so why should we suffer? And particularly some provisions are being included by some of the parties, and parties, one negotiator says on the table, it has never happened. And when they talk before each other, sometimes the parties accept. That acceptance breaks that psychological barrier. But you have to deal with that barrier also. And you have to bring them to a level where all these barriers, all these walls between the negotiators are removed, and they are in a position to get good results out of their negotiation. Pankaj. So I have just created few questions for you when you go for negotiation. First of all, ask yourself, should I go for negotiation? And if I decide that yes, I must go for negotiation, then I should ask myself what issues to be negotiated. So this comes into the category of preparation. And then when and how to negotiate. As I said, do not start negotiating at the initial stage itself. Gather information, try to understand the points of view of your opponent, and then decide when and how to negotiate. When is very important stage where agenda has been created, how to negotiate, which style is to be adopted by you, because you know the nature of your opponent. Maybe you want to be a hard negotiator, maybe you want to be a soft negotiator, maybe you feel that my opponent would like to see only what is reasonable, and maybe I go for principled negotiation. Who to represent in the negotiation process is very important. किसको मैं represent करूं, अपना किस तरीके से बात को करूं, how should I analyze a negotiation, because analysis is very, very important. We must understand what proposals can be created, because in negotiation, if you go with one proposal only, the negotiations may fail. So we must analyze how many proposals can be created, what demands, offers to consider, what may fall from the other side, and where to settle, of course, on what terms, how to conclude it, so that execution becomes possible. So you keep these questions when you are going for negotiations, answers will keep on falling in your lap automatically. So as a negotiator, the goal is not to get just a deal. Goal is to get a good deal. So if you want to get a good deal, You keep all these things, the information shared by me with you, so that you can shift people from their positions to their interest. You can shift their focus from the person to the problem, and you can lead them to have good results out of those negotiations. Thank you very much. I hope I have, despite few glitches here and there, I have tried to do my best. Any questions from the participants, please?
I think I can unmute all the participants so that they can ask questions. Yes. And now you can directly ask questions.
Ma'am, is mediation compulsory in every case, ma'am? Is it mandatory?
You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
See, mediation is not mandatory. Mediation in itself, the process is voluntary, though it has been made under the mandatory under the Commercial Courts Act. But still the voluntariness has not been taken away from the negotiators, from the participants there. If they are ready to sit and talk, if they are agreeing to sit and talk and participate, they can sit there. Till the time they are ready to sit there, they can talk there. But if they are not happy with the outcome, they can walk out. And if even at the initial stage, they do not want to sit for the purposes of talking with his opponent, one can always walk out. So though in certain acts it has been made mandatory, still the voluntariness has not been taken away, because that is the main core of mediation.
Ma'am, one question.
Please.
Why can't our government promote this mediation by it's a mandatory for the family law matters, particularly in case where the children are involving, and by mandating this, why can't they bring some reforms in the family laws or the family court? Because in other
I think we are deviating from the topic, but still, Pushp, if you permit me, I can answer this question.
Okay, ma'am.
This is not relating to negotiation, but still I would like to answer this question. First of all, though there is no law on mediation as yet, but still our judicial system is very much encouraging for mediation. Even Supreme Court, there are judgments to this effect, since you have talked about family courts and family matters, that wherever there are issues relating to family discord, matters must be referred to family counselors. And if even family counselors are not successful in getting good results from those process, then they must be referred for mediation. So those judgments are being followed strictly by our family courts. And even if you read the Family Court Act, you will find that the approach is for the purposes of having reconciliatory talks. It doesn't mean that reconciliation means only joining the family back, but conciliation is possible. Counselors are sitting there. Family courts are also referring the matter for mediation. And if all the mediators sitting here, they will agree with me that most of the matters are sent for the purposes of mediation. Not even once. At one stage, it may not be successful. They are referred again and again. Parties are given again and again opportunities to try mediation again, so that parties get that autonomy and they get results in their hands. What they are looking for, they are getting that.
Ma'am, I have a question. Like, as per the Indian code, the cases drag for years together without any remedy. I know people lose their age, time, patience, and everything. So mediation should be, it's my view, ma'am. It should be compulsory, where you can reduce the time factor of any people who are having a court case. And it has to, as you said, that when we sit and talk, we exactly know what is each one's problem, and it can be shot out in less time. and it will give a remedy. Like, it will be, it's like, see, when you go to the court, you have to give witness, you have to give evidence, you have to do so many things, and it's a lengthy process, time consuming, money consuming, patience, and all that stuff, ma'am. So mediation should be, and it should come in a very a highlight way in our Indian court, because that is the only thing which can give us happiness than running around with the courts for years together. And that will give everything, like, you are taking individual case, and you can, whatever is there, you can show the evidence. It will not drag for a very long time. So I feel that mediation should come up in a very high level, ma'am, and that should be the priority in the Indian court.
See, just our present Chief Justice has also recommended that one thing. Second is, even otherwise, most of the courts in India, anywhere, whether it is in Delhi or anywhere else, judges are recommending matters for the purposes of mediation at all stages. I don't know whether this chapter has been created by Pushpir or not, but if you read section 89 carefully, at any stage, courts are referring matters, and wherever they find elements of settlement, and sometimes even if parties are not inclined to settle, and judges just find that there can be some scope because the dispute is between the siblings or between the family members, they tell them, go and try it out. Even if it is not successful, come back. We were here, there. We will try the case the way it is. But they refer matters for mediation. Our judicial system is really supporting mediation. Of course, we are looking for some legislation very soon. If that comes, it will become more effective. But so far as code annexed mediation centers are concerned, I'm happy to report that we are getting good results because we are getting good support from the existing judicial system.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, all that we spoke just now about negotiation, it is
Yes.
Between the two disputing parties, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, so it's between the two disputing parties. So when you're talking about two disputing parties, all the, components that go with mediation or all the skills that's required for mediation, the parties might not really possess. They would be actually lay people.
That is, yes, that is why I started my presentation with assisted negotiation. If you know that these are the styles and these are the elements, these are important aspects relating to negotiation, only then you as mediator can bring them to a level where they are in a position to negotiate well and get their desired results. If you are not aware about the techniques with regard to negotiation as a mediator, how will you shift them from that stage where they can sit across the table and they can talk? We'll find that sometimes people are so much overwhelmed with emotions, maybe even hatred at times, that no, I can't even sit in front of my opponent. We deal with that situation and we bring them ultimately to that level where they can sit in front of their opponent and they talk. That is why we must understand this technique. Only then you will be able to apply it and use it when you are sitting and helping them, assisting them for facilitating basically negotiations between the two opponents.
Suppose
Hello, everyone. Please, can you ask the questions on the negotiation? Because today class is basing on the negotiation. So we expect that questions should be on the negotiation, Samma. Next class, we will have a different topic. So same way you can attend continuously, and if you have any negotiation doubts, please.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
confined to that.
Yes, ma'am. My question was a negotiation only, ma'am.
Yes.
Carry on.
Please carry on.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, suppose there's a party which is an avoider. I mean, he doesn't really want to get into negotiation in the first place itself. So how do you deal with it? I mean, would you say, why are you doing this? I mean, would you like to take it forward? I mean, if you really don't go and negotiation, you would lose everything. I mean, would you talk all those things because you are a facilitator, right? Because what I understood from previous classes, you're facilitating, you're making the other person make the decision. So, I mean, so how do we really go about this?
If you recollect the components taught to you by Sushila ma'am, Jawad sir and Shiv Kumar sir, starting the process from the opening statement, Shiv Kumar sir told you, You
Yes.
make the party to understand from the beginning itself. Maybe the party who is otherwise an avoider and he doesn't want to come and sit across the table. Once he listens to your opening statement, he starts getting into the seat for understanding what is coming from the other side. What does the other person know? What does the other person want to know from me? What does the other person want from me otherwise? So this is a complete process. Unless or until you know the components of mediation completely, you will not be able to use them. That is why it is important to understand that though like, in family matters or even in organizations related matter, an employee doesn't want to sit with the principal because he has never even raised his head in front of his employer. At that situation, you talk about the self-determination of the party. You empower the party to speak in front of your opponent and reminding them of those principles that you have to talk to your person with respect. Do not use particular language. So those communication skills are to be reminded to that man so that he talks and he tries to talk to that person in front of whom he has never raised his head, even while in employment. And same is the situation maybe in villages. Daughter-in-law does not even want to sit across the table against her father-in-law. This is again relating to culture. I'm not making it a general statement here. But when that situation comes, when you know that there are techniques of communication and negotiation, you will use them only if you are aware. That is why they have been made a component for the purposes of this EMW class.
Ma'am, I want to ask a question, ma'am. Like I've heard even the mediators, if for example, the husband is very rich and he want to contest a case and then he has been forced to go for mediation. So he's also bribing the mediator also so that it will be in his favor. Is it really true, ma'am?
I absolutely disagree. And two people I can see on the screen. One was Mr. Shiv Kumar and Push. Both raised their hands like this. No, not at all. Not at all. Don't even ever give ears to such type of rumors. Mediator's neutrality is the credibility of the mediator. And Shiv Kumar sir spoke about that even last time.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, how to handle a competitor in a negotiation process, ma'am? Any experiences you have?
Can you repeat? Because in between I lost your voice. Can you repeat?
Yes, ma'am. How to handle a competitor in a negotiation process? Any
How to handle?
How to
Competitor?
handle? Yes, ma'am.
A competitor.
See, if you know, I talked about certain communication skills also in between, which have been taught to you by Jawad sir. You have to put certain questions to the parties in a very candid way. You have to ask certain open-ended questions so that you get good information. And then, of course, you have to get clarificatory questions. And then questions which are closed, but they will bring you to a level where you can collaborate instead of competitor. What is the outcome of a competitor? Not very happy. Only if the other person is under a lot of pressure of anything, whether it is time related, any other factor, money related, time, or a relationship also sometimes. But that will never be giving you a good results. So you have to bring them to a level where they understand the benefits of collaboration. And that can be brought, parties can be brought to that level by putting them good questions, appropriate questions for appropriate stages. And that you will deal with, I think you will be taught little later in detail also. There are appropriate questions for every stage. And of course, use the Vatna, but don't use Vatna at the initial stage. Generally, people start using Vatna. We must use Vatna first.
Ma'am, one question, ma'am. For example, the opponent thinks that, he has got a lot of money and through contesting, he can win more than going through mediation. So how do you explain everything, the whole circumstance of the case, the duration of time and the money and all that stuff? Or how do you convince, ma'am?
See, convincing is not the job of the
Ma'am,
mediator.
ma'am, 1 minute, ma'am, if you don't mind, can I interrupt, adding to the previous question, if you don't mind, ma'am, to the question that was just asked?
Please,
Hello,
please
ma'am.
ask.
Yes,
Please
yes, ma'am.
ask.
Yes, I mean, talking about the competitor, I mean, and adding to the previous question, I mean, in Indian scenarios, ma'am, we deal so much with the caste-based negotiation. I mean, there would definitely be people of the, I mean, higher strata or higher caste, and there would be people, because there's so many atrocities, right? And you're bringing two different caste people at the lower caste or whatever that is called in India. And when you're bringing these two people at the negotiation table, it is a competitive negotiation, right? You cannot have an amicable settlement in such type of negotiations. So definitely there is a competition. So it's very
So
difficult.
these are all barriers. You have to deal with such type of barriers. This basically creates a wall between the two negotiators. But you should know how to deal with such type of barriers. And as Shiv Kumar sir last time also spoke, that every mediation is not resulted into successful mediation. Like settlement must take place. Sometimes settlements do not take place, but still people talk and negotiate. So that does not mean that negotiation should always result into settlements. And similarly, it is not always possible to have even negotiations at that stage. That stage also may not arise sometimes in some cases. But we are being taught here in these classes how to deal with such situations. And out of 10, at least 5 can be handled, if not all 10. This is what I can say.
Ma'am, I put a question that the opponent is financially sound and he feel that going for mediation is a loss for him and contesting I'll be a winner. So how do you handle the case, ma'am?
Again, see in the what mediator has got in his hand or her hand is the process. And what we have been taught here, that how to deal with that process should be fair, should be conducted in such a way that all the parties look at the benefits which are possible outcome of the mediation. Money always does not get satisfaction. Maybe today that opponent you are talking about might be thinking that I have money, so I will fight it out. But sometimes even the winners at the end are losers. In our own way, by putting that is why I said that one chapter on appropriate questions is very important. What questions are to be asked to the parties to bring them to a level where they agree to sit and talk and resolve. It is very, very important for all of us to know. Still, if that person goes back, there are exceptional cases. I will not say this is a rule. These type of cases fall into exceptions where parties want ultimately that, okay, we will just accept what the court decides for us, but that is their destiny. We should not look at such type of cases. We should look at those cases where parties, despite money, want to make good use of their money and their time and energy, and they want to spend on something else. Then souring their relationship further, because already they have got sour relationship, because most of the conflicts you will find wherever there is a relationship, there is a conflict. So somewhere or the other, it disturbs most of the people. Exceptions are everywhere. So don't take the exception to be the rule. Generally, people involve themselves into the process of mediation, even if they join in the beginning just for the sake of it, because court has referred them for the purposes of mediation. Once they are told about the benefits of mediation, they participate. And of course, outcome is in their hand. Outcome is not in your hand. Your hand is only the process. Use the process in the best possible way. Outcome will follow.
Dear friends, already time is up. Like madam already spent extra time, and like if you have any doubts, like email to the Sarita student coordinator. She will be passing it to the madam. Please.
I'll answer definitely.
It was a wonderful information from you, and thank you to answer the questions, ma'am, patiently.
Manjira, we have one last question in the chat box. If you can take that. Yeah. There's one in the chat box.
Yeah.
Can you take that?
Sarita, yes. Sarita, can you take the one more question?
Ma'am, the question is, what is the greatest asset to have when you're going into a negotiation?
Can you repeat what is the
greatest asset to have when you're going into a negotiation?
The greatest, be very calm and composed. Prepare yourself. Sit there, listen to the other person, active listening, that communicate, use all communication skills for the purposes of having good negotiation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Veenarali ma'am, for enlightening the participants on the topic negotiation, and thank you so much for answering the questions from the participants. Dear participants, if you have got any queries related to today's topic, please feel free to send an email to the email ID saritaboska@gmail.com, which I have posted in the chat box. Over to you, Manjira ma'am, for vote of thanks.
Thank you, Sarita. On behalf of the BMW team, I extend a hearty vote of thanks to our guest speaker, Veenarali ma'am. Today, we have an opportunity to hear her value.